طيب بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. أتمنى يكون صوتي واضح للجميع. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really happy to be with you tonight in this great session. I'm joined here by a great panel that we have here. Today we're going to talk about a very important topic that we are navigating in our daily life, and especially for the people who's working in companies and enterprises. I think this topic will be very useful for them. Today we're going to talk about the digital transformation strategy in organization. I'm being joined here by a great panel that's going to navigate. We are going to navigate together what does this mean and how the pandemic is really affecting the digital transformation in company lives. I would like to start first with introducing my great panel over here. I will start with Fadwa. Fadwa, please
Sure.
Introduce yourself.
Absolutely. So thank you, Amar, for doing this, and I'm really thrilled to be with my panelists. And thank you, Think Tech, for arranging this. So I have one of these cool jobs that I just never imagined having back in high school. I'm a digital innovator with SAP, and what my team and I does for a living is we actually live in the future. So we live in 2030. And we look at three things and try to understand what would it look like. The first one is I try to understand what the future of work would look like. The second thing is I try to understand what the future of living would look like. And thirdly, what the future of the planet is going to look like. And I think that I'm very, very blessed to be doing this job out of KSA and with SAP. If you look at what we're trying to achieve in the next 10 years, we're literally trying to bring the future forward. And it's not just that we have the will under Vision 2030, but we also have an unbelievable skill with 67% of the nation, Gen Zs and millennials, or in other words, under 35. Also, in our innovation office, as part of SAP, we have 400,000 customers worldwide in 26 industries. So I literally try to understand what this future is looking like, and we try to pioneer it in the kingdom.
Wow.
Lastly,
thanks.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. That's a very long introduction. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah. So I'm a huge nerd. I really like this digital summer. And so for me to be part of this panel is absolutely fantastic. Over to you, Omar.
Thank you so much, Fadwa. It's really great to be with you tonight and really honored to be with you tonight. Mohammed?
Hello, Umar, and everyone joining us tonight. Thank you for having me. Just to give a brief of my background, I'm Mohammed Al-Imrani, currently the CEO of Hawaz, a Saudi company specialized in digital transformation and behavioral science. So 15 years ago, I started working in financial service sector, specifically in the digital delivery channel. I moved into Ilm, and I was lucky to be part of large-scale digital transformation project that accelerated the improvement of digital services, which in return impacted the society. So I then moved to the e-government program, where I focused on assessing digital maturity of organizations and developing digital strategies for public sectors. Nowadays, I'm actually happy that there is, as a result of the efforts by organizations in Saudi, we proved that we are in a very good position to deliver services, even during crises such as the COVID-19. And I'm delighted to be part of the discussion today to talk about the steps that leads to successful digital transformation strategy.
Excellent, Mohammed. I'm really happy to be with you, and this is an excellent introduction for yourself. Frederick?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. My name is Frederik Nannestad. I'm from Denmark. I'm working at J-Way by Devoteam. Last week I was a technology lead in the Copenhagen studio. Now I'm actually the head of the Copenhagen studio. So I'm managing a team of around 30 technologists, basically all with a design or a technology engineering background. I myself have an engineering background, and what we do basically is help our clients build innovative digital products, user-oriented, basically.
Amazing
digital products.
Amazing. We have a night of innovators here, so it's really great to be with you guys. So my name is Omar Al-Amoudi. I'm working as Chief Cloud Architect for Oracle, and also as a technology and strategy advisory for Oracle. I'm really happy to be with you today, and we're going to start to the first point, and the first point is about the topic that we have talked about here in the session, which is, there is a way, or there is a saying that the pandemic has really fast-tracked or accelerated the digital transformation in companies in Saudi Arabia and around the world. We would like to test this saying first by Fadwa. Fadwa, what do you think? What's your take on this statement?
Sure. So I actually was thinking a lot about that, and my views is that digital transformation is just dead, right? And now we just entered.
That's a strong word,
Yeah, I remember like I was writing an article about it, and it was like saying maybe it's too bold, but then I wanted to test that with some data. So when we looked at the beginning of the first 8 weeks of the pandemic, McKinsey tells us that we fast-tracked the digital adoption 5 years. So in 8 weeks, we went to 2025. And then Gartner came and said that 80% of everything an organization does, meaning products and processes, will be reinvented. And everything that we took in the last decade, we'll have to rethink about it. And then I decided to kind of break down what does that mean in terms of business processes. So it's almost as if, digital transformation and hire to retire is dead. And now I have to think of, the human capital experience. And what does the human cloud mean for me as, I bring people in and out. I got to think of procure to pay and, how am I going to do that versus having a network and homing from school and schooling from office. And that's how I look at it. And then maybe we can unpack what this digital native world could look like if you want.
Okay, excellent. So Mohammed, what do you think? Do you think that the digital transformation is dead? Actually, we are living in a cloud native world?
I do agree. It's no more talk about digital transformation strategies or technologies. It's all about digital by default.
Okay.
So basically, just to the pandemic part and how it's fast tracked the digital transformation and the adaptation of digital technologies. So there was a mindset, a shift in the mindset within the organization leaderships that adopt the implementation of strategies and solutions. So I will take an example like at Howes, for example, we were able to perform work seamlessly days after the lockdown was announced, and many other organizations had to do the same. Otherwise, they will not be able to sustain. So that's right. It's a no more digital transformation, digital by default. And this is the thing that this is the new approach that all organizations globally would take in order to sustain its operation. But actually, there is a silver lining in all of this because of let's take at a global level, such as the United Nations EGDI survey, for example. It will improve further because of the jump that we have made in terms of capabilities, infrastructure that we are forced to take during this time. So otherwise, the livelihood of people would be impacted. So basically, many industries have adopted digital solutions to deliver its services to the point that everything been fast-tracked. A lot of example, take for example, a pharmacy chain. Now we were able to order, pay, and receive medicine through a mobile. This is an example of the things that the pandemic has fast-tracked. Also on the other aspect, let's say the investment part, recently we have seen one of the groceries application closing funding with more than, I think, 68 million riyal from a venture capitalist to expand their operation.
Nice.
Also, companies now more than ever are not only focusing on the type of technology itself, but the type of experience they are giving to the experience, as the pandemic has changed the behavior of customers. Yeah.
Excellent. So, Frederick, the question is to you. Did the pandemic accelerate the digital transformation, or accelerated the adoption of cloud native? What do you think?
I in some way, I agree that digital transformation is dead in some way. But in the way that the people who have been doing digital transformation shouldn't be doing it the way they've been doing it. So they should look at the digital companies, the native digital companies, because I think that the ones who's benefit the most from the pandemic was those companies who were actually ready when the pandemic hit us in a digital way. So the acceleration in the getting the 5 years ahead has been mostly for the companies who's been actually ready before the pandemic. That's how I see it in Scandinavia, at least. But I think that, and then I think that the rest of all the organizations and companies should take a look at how the digital native companies have actually been doing it for the past way. It's stuff like focusing on delivery and just getting it out to the market and collecting data, usage data, and all that sort of stuff. That's what the rest of the companies should focus on now. So they need to do the digital transformation in a different way, I would say.
Right. That's clear. So Mohammed, up to you. So if we think about the different technologies that the decision maker or any kind of audience who is listening right now to us, what kind of technologies or what kind of points that he needs to take into consideration while he's going into his deploying his digital transformation strategies? Is there any particular kind of technologies that you would recommend for that, or what's your take on this point?
Oh, sorry. Well, I think I feel some. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Mohammed. We can hear you.
Oh, sorry. So on the technology part and what technologies are being used. So we first start with what is the need for change, what do we need to improve, and what we need to capitalize on. So that means there is a lot of efforts that has to be done prior to even thinking about the technology. Investing one part of the story, organizations should consider how technology can support change. So it's a strategic decision from the organization to identify what are the strategic gaps in the organization that that technology can support in order to bridge this gap. So we need to understand the organization culture, the infrastructure, the people, the processes, and translate this into a roadmap in order to help achieve the desired stage.
Can you recommend a specific toolkit or methodology for our audience here to follow?
Basically,
We lost you, Mohammed. Can you hear Mohammed? Fadwa.
Sure.
What do you think when Mohammed will come back? So what kind of technologies that we need to think about when it comes to the digital transformation strategies and all these kind of stuff?
Sure. So if I build on Frederick's idea around how about we look at the digital native companies and kind of try to understand what is it that we're trying to do. And
so Mohammed came back. So maybe we'll switch back. Mohammed, sorry, we lost you. So so the last point we tackled together is that what kind of toolkit or strategies or methodologies that you want to recommend to the audience over here from your experience?
Basically, it's the best way is to how to make the alignment between the business objectives and how the technology help on achieving this. One of the well-known framework is the TOGAF framework, which is for the enterprise architecture. This is basically what illustrates how you can use the technology in order to support business. And this is one of the well-known and recently been adopted by a lot of organizations, public or private sectors.
Nice. So TOGAF, guys, don't forget our audience here. Fadwa, what do you think? Sure. What are the technologies? Is it technologies first or strategies first?
I think there's one common objective that every CXO is now thinking about, which is how can I give people, my employees and my customers, the flexibility to just adapt in the new normal, right? And I remember I was discussing this with you, Amar, and we were saying that yes, we shifted from, working 9 to 9 or 8 to 5 to working from home, but the work never really stopped, meaning that in a remote first world, we really got to think of our meetings in a different way. Why do I need a meeting when I can, get a project tool and get Slack and all of that? So we should not really think technology first. We should think, am I giving people the flexibility to really help them navigate? And then what are the best practices in this digital native world that I can actually take and adopt and, scale or pivot as I see fit.
Excellent. So Frederick, can you unpack it for us also a little bit can you spin it a little bit from your side, from Denmark side? Is it technologies first, or strategies first, or toolkits first, or Slack first? What do you think?
I would say it's users first. And the thing that is happening at the moment, as the way I see it, is that when you before had one product or one business and one user journey, you would now have one business, but a lot of different user journeys. And you need to support and analyze all these different user journeys. You need to have a lot of different kind of technologies. So you have all the existing ones that you probably did already have a website and stuff like that. But you also need to support the user journeys in many different ways, which is basically omnichannel, right? But you need omnichannel. Before was omnichannel in the web browser, but now it's omnichannel, between all your digital touch points and also your physical touch points that you need to make digital. So a lot of different technologies you need to apply. And then when you get all that data in, you also need to be able to structure it, and you need to be able to analyze it. And you can do that in a lot of different ways and more or less advanced ways.
So can we unpack this a little bit, because you have mentioned a little bit of terminology here. So you said customer journey.
Yeah.
What do you mean by customer journey? What is customer journey?
So basically,
can you unpack this a little bit for our audience here?
Yeah, sure. So basically, a customer journey would be if you look at a subway map, for instance. Right. So and you have let's say you have a group of friends who needs to go to the same supermarket or restaurant or whatever. Then they will arrive at the restaurant in different ways. And that's basically the user journey. So if you look at your company's product or your offering, basically your business offering, that's the way, your customers will have a lot of different touch points through your...
Another terminology. What do you mean by touch point?
Yeah, so a touch point would be, if you have a store, for instance, a physical store, you can walk in that would be a touch point. Your customer walks in, and that's your touch point. But it could also be your website, for instance. That would be another touch point. And maybe it could be advertising on different websites. That would also be a digital touch point. So we know it from ourselves that when we want to buy something that is more expensive than bread, then we usually research in different ways. And there's a lot of different ways that you approach a buy, basically a conversion. Right. So you would want to, from a business point of view, you would want to know if people are moving away from your product into another product, and that's so you need to be in control of all these digital touch points.
Right. So Mohammed, I'm back to you. So you say that strategies should be first, and then think about technologies. Let us assume that as a company, I have written my strategy and I have written my customer journeys and I have done all these kind of prerequisites. What kind of technologies that you think COVID-19 will push me forward to adopt it as a company?
That's basically the adaptation of mobile first.
Excellent.
Everything is on mobility.
Can you unpack this? Can you unpack this a little bit? What do you mean by mobile first?
Mobile first, look at now, everything has to be as an app that serves you through your mobile app. So through your mobile. Your mobile become basically the channel that supports you to perform services or ask for even advices. Look at, for example, the number of mobile applications that have been developed by the government during the COVID. So Tawakkalna, there is Tabaud. So all these apps basically makes us more connected in a way and provided to us the seamless services and facilitated the way we used to live as
Mhm.
society, as an individuals.
Nice.
So any technology that would be adopted, it has to come as a mobile first, as a mobile first.
Nice. Fadwa, any other technologies? It's a mobile first world that we're living in.
Sure. So I think one thing that is actually something that we can take from the post-COVID is the network effect, right? Probably.
Can you back this for us a little bit? What do you
Sure.
mean by network effect?
I mean, Frederick is in Copenhagen, you're in Jeddah, and I'm in Riyadh, and our organizers are spread all across the world, and it's very acceptable for us to have this forum, which means that there is an always on demand acceptance, and this network world we can actually take advantage of. I remember as we think of the procure to pay, we said, what if we like just opened the network and connected people around, right? And what we saw in COVID is that we had one of our customers in New York that needed to build a hospital and fit 500 beds yesterday, right? And then he went to our Ariba procure to pay network, and he was able to secure 500 beds in 30 minutes in a world where supply chain just simply stopped, because all of that happened in March. Now, are we going to abandon this? I actually don't think so. I think I still want to be connected to all suppliers around the world, have the transparency, get the best price and the best service, and get all of that a part of my procure to pay organization.
Excellent takeaway. So it's a mobile world. It's a network effect world. Frederick, is there anything else other than these words? Can you describe it in another way?
I would say it's a world that requires even more personalization and personal and relevant offering than ever before. Yeah.
Can we unpack this a little bit? What do you mean by personalization, and how it would affect?
Yeah. So there are so many. There are so many technologies, and technology is becoming cheaper and cheaper, and so easy to build new products, and the competition in every sector is, increased. And that just means that you need to be more relevant for the customer than ever before. So and to be relevant, a customer needs to feel that you talk to them, basically directly to them. So that's really the biggest challenge right now for any company, is to be relevant and personalized. Yeah.
Can you think of an example? Major examples that we can think about?
I think there are a lot of examples. I guess that basically any digital product we know of, successful digital product, has basically focused on a single task that is what you needed, and it's old knowledge in marketing. Like, you need to focus on something and be really good at it to penetrate, and that's what we need to do as well. So you can just, the iPhone, for instance, just focused on one single problem, solved a lot of problems, but it was a very easy message to understand. So the iPod is maybe even better example.
You're absolutely right. Fadwa, I think you have an example in your mind.
Sure. So
it's me work.
Yeah. Okay. So in my previous life, I was a marketeer, and I think I spent like 70% of my time saying, oh, that's a B2B, meaning business to business. And that's a B2Me. A B2C, that's a business to consumer kind of marketing campaign. And I realized that with in this digital first world that I live in right now, it's actually a B2Me. Everyone is expecting to have the same experience that they get out of their food delivery app and their Netflix and all of that, right?
Yeah.
And then we looked at this in the context of Saudi. So we said, we know that mobile penetration is 99%. We know that the internet traffic, 70% comes out of a mobile. And we know that people want a personalized message. What is one of the toughest sectors that we can take this to? And so we started working with King Abdullah University of Science, and they told us a very simple message. My mission is to attract the best and brightest brain to work on the toughest problem that humanity is going to face. And then you look at the personal, experience that you're about to deliver. And these are 7,000 residents from 100 different nations. So how do you actually do that? And so we said, okay, so I think that if we want to build a personal experience, probably the best time to do it are for scientists and researchers who are too busy, fixing human challenges. So we teamed up with Apple and we came up with the Smart Campus, where you can actually go and unpack and get educated the way you want and how you want it, and you get information in real time. And we saw the adoption just going up, and that was one of the key points that I realized last year, that the way we live, especially in Saudi, is going to definitely impact the way we work. And it's no longer acceptable, for instance, for us as employees to go and live in a world where it's 1970 and we still have a lot of processes that are mundane.
Yeah. Nice examples. Nice example. Thank you so much, Fadwa. It's really enriching, guys. So we are receiving very good questions from the audience. So I want to start with this question from the audience and with Muhammad. Muhammad, we had a kind of a point raised by one of the audience. Her name is Samah Harbi. Samah is saying, I think we should both start synergistically between technology and strategies. We should start them together. It's not like one after another or one invade other, because all these works parallel on the technologies and strategies should lead to a better results. What do you think, Mohammed?
I think technology is meant to solve the problem, business problem. Also, technology could cause a problem if it's not aligned with the organization objectives. So you need to understand where the organization is heading for. What's the aspiration of this organization, what they are looking to achieve and want to improve, and how technology can play this role to solve this problem. Bringing new technologies and ignoring the current situation of the organization might make some disruption and it might fail. And we have witnessed a lot of new technologies being introduced to organizations that is not in real need for it or does not serve the purpose, basically, because the investment behind technology is really huge sometimes. It reaches a 10 of millions, hundreds of millions. If the value out of this technology is lower than the solving the business problem, it won't serve the purpose. So that's why it has to start with a business need. What things need to be improved, taken into consideration the infrastructure, the readiness of the organization, and how they can deploy or employ this technology. It has to come from my experience, from what I have witnessed. It's a business decision. It's a business-driven way to employ technology.
Nice. Fadwa, do you have any other thing to add here?
Sure.
Or Frederick?
Frederick, you want to take a shot at it?
Yeah, but I'm not really sure I understand the question, so maybe you should start.
Sure. So how do you align business and IT, right? And how can the technology? I think one of the best tools that I'd like to do, we have this partnership with Stanford over the Design Thinking School. And before we do anything, we really think of how are we going to bring all of these, business users to a room and have them imagine what can technology help them with. But then can we do an MVP? So basically we start very small. So if it fails, it's fine. And if not, we actually scale. And let's go into more of a microservices world, right? So we deploy a service. If it works, we add another service and so on. And that's how you kind of do that. Lastly, I like to close the loop. So I call it's two kind of data that I can get if I'm in IT. The first one is the operational data. So I can go and see who logged on Zoom, who is using Teams, are people really using these tools or not? Right. But also I want to get their feelings, and that's their X data. And that you have to simply ask them, are you liking this? What's not working? And all of that.
So we have also another question, and I would like to start with you, Frederick. You'd like to add on this? Please go.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, so because now I understand the question. So I want to add, so in J-Way we don't really separate between the traditional way back-end system and front-end systems. We basically separate on in purpose. What purpose does this system solve? And also the way we look at our organizations and the changes most organizations need to do is have the separation between what is your basically your IT department solving, and what is your marketing and your customer facing commercial department part of the organization need to solve, and set up the right kind of interfaces between the organizations. It's basically what Fatwa was talking about is also like looking at a complex system, and a company is kind of a really complex system. And the way we, solve complex systems from a technical point of view is basically dividing and defining clear interfaces between, different sections of the systems. And that's the way you have to look at a company. I would say to be able to say that to separate the responsibilities between, what is IT responsibility and what is a digital innovation user-facing responsibility. Yeah.
Keep with me, Frederick, because we have another question from the audience, and I'm going to spin it a little bit. The question is about the digital trends and the digitization trends that we see. I want to ask it in a different way. I want to ask Frederick, what are the trends post COVID-19, digitization trends that we see post COVID-19, and can you spell out Denmark? And then maybe Fadwa and Muhammad can, reflect it on Saudi. So we want to see in Denmark, what are the digitalization trends that you see post COVID-19? Or do you think, or you predict that it will happen after COVID-19? And how this will affect also the startups focus? Because I think the guy who is asking is coming from a startup background, so I would like to get your advice on that.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm seeing is that just what I mentioned earlier is that the companies that were not digital natives is kind of opening up their eyes now and seeing they need to do something. And obviously that's kind of a threat, I would say, to a startup, depending on what kind of section you are in, because a lot of companies have a lot of money and they see now that they need to do something about this, and they will probably throw a lot of energy into it. Like I said earlier, I think the trend would be that companies who hadn't really seen the necessity of actually becoming more digital now see what that will actually bring. It's more clear to them that what the investments will what return of investment they will have in becoming more digital. And so if I was a startup, I would kind of focus on what would actually be my offering into this market, and what can I offer that a big old company cannot offer.
Nice.
Because they are coming.
Nice.
They're coming now, I would say.
Nice. So focus on the things that big companies can't offer, and you can offer it as a unique selling point from your side.
It could be, for example, identifying a very specific user group, focusing on a unique offering.
Right. Muhammad, what do you think from our local market here? What do you think the post-COVID-19 digital transformation trends that we could see in the market? And what's your advice for the startups who's really trying to focus on that transformation or that trends?
Yeah, actually, the COVID accelerated some technologies such as the cloud. And when you say cloud, it's basically it's a way to use certain applications based on your needs in a more cost-effective way. So a startup, it's better to not look at what technology they need to acquire and build their own data center in order to operate, but it's simple application over the cloud. But the adaptation in the cloud, it's in a really high demand nowadays. Then AI, it's opened a new door for us, since the number of plethora of data basically around us now, through the mobiles, through the usage of certain services, whether for public or private sector. It's opened a new era for more artificial intelligence to play a major role, machine learning, etc. And it's all sometimes an advanced way to employ these technologies, but in a sense, this technology it's proven during the COVID-19 that they really added huge value to the humanity, to the society, and these two areas are basically would become in a very high demand from now on.
So we are having a lot of questions from the audience.
Mhm.
Fadwa, another question from the audience. Can technology improve itself, improve the business rather than solving its problem? Meaning that maybe she is thinking about having proactive things. Even before the problem is happening, the technology will elevate your experiences before you're thinking that this is a necessity for you.
So last week I got a gift as a Fitbit, and I actually regret wearing it because now I actually can't get it off. But it's a classic case of how technology is helping me become fit, right? Because it will buzz and tells me you haven't taken your steps, and so it's actually letting me adopt a certain kind of behavior towards that. Also, we're seeing unbelievable application of AI that's coming in terms of digesting big data and actually predicting what's the next thing is. But I still value the human brain, and I think that you want to arm yourself with all these tools, but you still want to have the decision within you. But yeah, we're gonna see like health is gonna definitely be disrupted in Saudi retail. There is no way I'm gonna go and pick my own groceries if I can get it delivered. And we're gonna see all the changes happening in education is going to probably disrupt how we get educated in the kingdom.
So, Frederick, I think there is a question here from Nasser from the audience. It's a bit different from all the questions. It's not technology focused, but it's a social focused kind of question. While we are talking about all these technologies, what do you think about the people who lost their jobs? Do you have solutions? Do you have innovations for them? I'm talking to you, Frederick, because you are heading the innovation as well as Fadwa. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
what's
sure.
your innovation in that area?
Well, I guess you have to look at history at least partly for that, because obviously like 50 years ago here in Denmark, we had people delivering milk to our doorstep every morning. And we don't have that yet now. Instead, those boys are attending school, which is good for us. And I think that obviously it's not a good thing to lose your job. But I think we have to, there will be some, you have to change careers. So what you say, you have to figure out how to do something else. And that's just one part of innovation, I guess, that you will lose that some will not work in that sector anymore. For instance, Uber will replace, or automatic cars, self-driving cars will replace taxi drivers, for instance, or bus drivers. So it's definitely something that we need to think about. I don't have solutions. I think that society will, have to figure out solutions in different ways for it. And we've shown that we can do that before, and I'm confident that we can do that again. Yeah.
Right. Fadwa, what's your take on that?
Sure. So I do that for a living. I look at the kind of jobs that will come and go and what the future of work would look like. And I'm fairly optimistic because I have hopefully the data to back it up. So we know that 75 million jobs would be gone because of the emerging technology. But we also know that 131 million jobs will come. So for every job that's going away, 2 jobs is going to be created. Now the question is, are these jobs going to be in the kingdom or outside of the kingdom? And you really got to look at what kind of economies that we want to head into to just do this prediction. I think that we saw WEF signing an agreement in the kingdom that they were going to open the first Industry 4.0 center, which means that we really are very serious about taking these skills and building it in-house. We also saw the AI organization being deployed, and we're seeing this digital native thinking in our society. We're seeing the deployment of 5G, but we're also seeing tools like Think Tech, where 1 million people can reach sessions like these and then can connect and have the discussion. So I think that with the young nation, with the economies that we are going to go into, we will probably have more jobs than lost.
So thank you so much, Fadwa. This is really great. Mohammed, one of the questions Nof is asking here from the audience, how we can expedite the digital adoption for large organizations such as banks? If we think about banks, it gives me the idea of fintech. So do you have any spin about how digital transformation and fintech is really accelerating the way we pay things, for example, here in Saudi, from your experience?
It does basically. It does provide another type of experience to the people, and we noticed recently, SAMA opened its sandbox for fintech to develop and innovate new services and application based on financial services. So banks, the financial sector basically used to be over-regulated with the of allowing entrepreneurs, allowing SMEs, allowing new startups to capitalize on the infrastructure, the solid infrastructure that we have in Saudi Arabia. That would be a huge potential to grow and build solutions that would solve certain problems within the financial sectors and also improve the experience for everyone.
Nice.
So this is basically a green area still here in Saudi Arabia. The innovation is unlimited. And think unlimited. There's no limit basically to think of what you can do and develop within the financial sector here in Saudi Arabia. And there is basically a very active steps been taken by the government in terms of regulations and also the support the support for the startups and entrepreneurs.
So Fadwa, I need two things from you. The first one, I'm missing my laptop charger, so I have to bring my laptop charger and connect it. The second thing, I'd like to have your spin and also Frederick's spin on the fintech that we are seeing here in Saudi and also in Denmark. What are the fintech trends that we see in the market, so that we can answer the financial transformation or the bank's transformation that we see.
Sure.
So give me 1 minute, but please complete, Fadwa and Frederick.
Absolutely. So Frederick, do you want to tell us your thoughts, and then maybe I can go after you?
So on the banking question? Yeah, sure. So from a technical point of view, I think that so banks has a lot of legacy systems, and they have also a lot of technical debt that is really slowing them down. On the other hand, there's a lot of new financial products emerging from startups, and I think that the banks would benefit a lot from just starting up some startups themselves, providing focused products outside of their own basically company. And one of the trends we also see, and one of the things that we recommend at J-Way, is that you need to build interfaces into your old system and just decouple the old systems from your new systems, basically. So that will kind of speed up your innovation, and then you can replace old systems gradually. Let them exist by their own, in their own manner, and then continue trying to experiment on new products. We actually had a really good case in Denmark. We have an app called Mobile Pay, which basically came in around, I think, 5 years ago, 5 to 6 years ago. I'm not really sure about the date, but they came in and just reinvented the way we transfer small amounts to each other. And that was one of the biggest banks in Denmark, Danish bank, that actually built that outside of their own organization, and it's very successful. And now basically that's the most used app in Denmark now. So that's one example of doing that.
Nice. Fadwa?
Sure. So I think that, when fintech first, the regulations started to change, I was like, does that mean that, they're going to come and eat the bank lunch, at least in the consumer perspective? And again, I had to go and look at the data to understand. Basically, we had 9 million people that were unbanked. And then the question is, as we go and adopt new technology tools in the banking industry, it's going to be banking as a service. right? And this is, building on what Frederick said. And then, we saw the emergence of STC Pay. Probably 60% of us are STC users. And we've seen the growth of STC Pay, probably like 100,000 people. And I remember in Eid, I have 2 half siblings, and I'm seeing the Ayadis go back and forth on STC Pay. And these are, like 10 and 15. And, like in my world, when I was growing up, I wouldn't have dreamed of having a bank. But now they have a digital wallet, and, they can go and be banked. And that's the kind of advantage that technology has opened for us, a new application, which is in the fintech space.
Right. So guys, I want to ask the last question here. So what are your top 3 advices that you can give to the personas, that the audience that we are that are attending today or tonight, from different sectors? What are your top three advices so that they can continue their digital transformation journey? Please, anyway, Muhammad or Frederick or Fadwa, please go ahead.
Sure. So I would summarize it into 3 crucial aspects to realizing digital strategy. The first one is the leader buy-in. Sometimes they say people make or break project. I would also say people make or break organization. So here we need to pay close attention to the stakeholders embracing and supporting this change. So a big room for change management. And it's not only an effort that's done by the digital or IT collaboration sort of work. The second point would be to constantly measure and adjust. In fact, digital transformation is an ongoing process. There is no end to this journey. And that's why organizations need to measure and track the impact in real time in order to evaluate their operations and make the required adjustments to achieve better results. Third point would be listening to the customers. So identifying any gaps in the services. We have seen, for example, many people during the pandemic recommending certain apps and advising against others. And this is a reflection of how much efforts and dedication a company has to put to understand the interaction between their customers and the technology. So personalized experience is key in a sense, and with the plethora of the data, the companies that can gather, it also helps in listening to what needs to be improved and further, let's say, introduced to the customers. This is what I have to say on the 3 areas of success factor for digital strategies.
Nice. So if I want to summarize, it's track and measure, it's personalized experiences, and the first point?
It's a buy-in, leadership buy-in.
Leadership buy-in. Excellent points, Mohammed. Fadwa or Frederick? Fadwa?
Sure. So I think my 3 takeaways, the first one is keep watching this channel, right? So ThinkTech actually brings you probably the best leaders and thought leaders in every aspect. And that's like a shortcut.
This is a free advertisement or paid advertisement?
On their No, I mean, it took us like 6 days to prepare for that and all of that, right? And I think, the continuous learning is one thing. And the other one is the flexibility. We're going to see a lot of industry convergence. I mean, we spoke about multiple industries, and we're probably are going to see a lot of industries converging. And I think the flexibility is something.
So, can you unpack this a little bit? What do you mean by industry convergence?
Sure. So one example I was actually talking about is STC or the telecommunications sector going into the banking sector, right? And they will probably go through, Joey and Frederick, more than me, in a media track. So we're seeing that, saying that, for instance, a telco is a telco is exactly like saying that Google is a search engine. So it's you're going to see a lot of industry conversion happening. So my third point is probably not forgetting the planet. And I think that sustainability is going to be a big theme in Saudi over the next few years. I mean, with our G20 presidency leading that, we've seen some very bold moves that are happening. I think I was watching in the news, reading an article on Bloomberg saying that Aramco has shipped its first blue ammonia, meaning that we're really thinking of a sustainable solution and the circular economy. And I think the digital tools can actually play a big role there.
So top 3 advices: subscribe to ThinkTech. This is the first one. The second one is about sustainability. The third one is about industry convergence. This is the main points that Fadwa is saying. Frederick?
Yeah, so I would say that the first thing I think that any company should really be aware of or realize now is that your user journey, you are just one message among a lot of different messages that your users or customers will face during a day. And people will maybe interact with you once every other week, or, they will not be, focusing entirely on your product or your company. So you need to be able to track and, be more relevant. That's what I was talking about in the beginning. So you need to be also all your user journey. You won't have only one user journey. You would have a lot of different user journeys, and you need to be able to track and see and get an overview of how are your users actually interacting with your company and your products, and how are they using it, how are they acting before, how are they acting during the the decision phase, and after they have actually bought a product from you. So that's super important, getting an overview and getting the data in on how your users are reacting, and getting it continuously, because they will change, competition will change, and that will mean that your customers will change the way they look at you and the way they interact with your product. So that's really start to look at your users and your user journeys and see that really figure out how many different user journeys do we actually have.
Right.
On the second part, I would say that the organization of your company basically impacts your ability to actually innovate. So that's the part of setting up your company so that you will have clear interfaces and clear responsibilities between different departments. It's super important because they will need to support different things. So your IT department will need to support stability, reliability, security. And your commercial part of your organization will need to support innovation and be competitive. So that's a different pace. So focusing also on delivery on the entire time. And I guess for the final point I would like to make is that you can start innovating even if you have technical debt. You just need to do it the right way. You need to decouple your existing systems from your innovation systems and start small and focus on delivery. That would be my final point.
Excellent points, Frederick. So focus on users, user journey, and data. Keep harmony between all your organization, inside your organization, all departments. And also the third point is about
decoupling. I would say decoupling your old IT from your new IT and start.
You can start small. You don't have to start big.
Yes, exactly.
So I think there is no room for big bang during COVID-19 era. No more big bang projects, right?
No.
So
you can do that. You can do that, but just don't let it hold you back. So you can have big transition projects, of course, in your backbone IT, but it shouldn't hold back your innovation. Then how much value does a big, huge IT project give your clients if you're not actually innovating and creating new products on top of it?
I really would like to thank you so much for concluding all the points over here. We still have some questions. Would you like to have some questions from the users, from the audience over here, or you would like us to conclude? What do you think? We still have 5 minutes. Can we take 2 more questions? Is it okay with you guys?
I am past my bedtime, but I'm very democratic. So if my other panelists are happy to, I'm happy to.
Can we take 2 more questions? Excellent. So one question from Shog Al-Wahib. She's saying, can we know what's the major thing that will help us to change some of our business work? So So if I want to spin her question in one direction, I would like to say, what's the major, or if because we have so many technologies, can you pick for me one technology that will help me a lot in my work today? Just give me one simple technology, Fadwa. One answer, huh? Not long answer, short answer, please, Fadwa.
I think automation. I think one thing COVID showed us, no one wants to do the repetitive task. And I think whatever can get you to the automation point is one thing that will actually help you be competitive going forward.
Okay, Frederick, one technology, pick me one technology that will help me a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm tempted to go out on a limb here, like saying something like text versioning or something, something like GitHub that we are using every day as a programmer would help so many people versioning their documents, all that sort of stuff. And I'm just kind of like, why are not everybody using these kind of tools? It would be such a helpful tool for many people. So building a user-friendly interface on top of documents. Think of all the lawyers editing documents, sending them back and forth. Like, it would be such a huge help. So a lot of these technologies, but obviously that's from a programmer's point of view. Yeah.
Mohammed, what do you think?
Actually, remote working changed the way we used to work.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
And name the applications that help you to perform and work remotely. A lot of actually applications that supported people to work remotely and work from home. You could say Slack facilitated the communication, emails for sure for the for communication. You could say Zoom, for example. Now we were able to have this panel and from our house, from our home. So a lot of technology. It's not the technology exactly; it's the need. We come back to the points. What's the need?
So Nof is saying, what do you think about RPA? From my side, I think RPA is really one of the greatest technologies that will accelerate and automate, as Fadwa is saying. So Fadwa is saying about automation. RPA, robotic process automation, was one of the ways to automate these things. It's really helpful in your journey for digital transformation. I think that's it. Thank you so much, guys. Sorry for torturing you for a complete hour. I was really happy to be with you guys. And the audience, it was really great and tremendous to see all of these questions coming to us. I'm really sorry if I missed a question or I haven't answered some of the questions. Sorry for that. Thank you so much, guys. Hopefully we'll see you all of you again in another session. That's it from my side. Any final notes? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Fadwa, Frederick, Ahmed, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.